Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and we are going to be diving into probably one of the most common topics for us to talk about on the Profit with Law podcast, and it's another marketing discussion. Now, I say another because we do a lot of them, but what's crazy is that no matter how many discussions we have around marketing and how many experts we get into the room, there's always something to learn from that conversation. There's always something new, a new way to look at things, a new perspective, and maybe a new tactic for you to try. So if you're sitting there thinking, no, not another marketing conversation, you do want to keep those earphones in your ears. You do want to stay tuned for this conversation because guaranteed we are going to have something come up that you don't know, and it will help you with the growth of your business. Our guest right now is Bo Royal. He's a former Fortune 500 agency executive turned legal marketing expert with over a decade-long track record of scaling online for renowned brands such as Calvin Klein, GNC, Kate Spade, New York, and large law firms. 7 years ago, Bo, I don't know if this number is still correct because we get these bios that might have been written a while ago, so we'll check in with Bo in a moment. 7 years ago, Bo left a leadership role at eBay's Marketing Solutions division to take a new challenge as CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for a large law firm in Philadelphia. Within 2 years of joining that firm, the firm's number of cases from marketing quadrupled, and the firm has grown to a consistently high 8 figures in annual revenue since. Today, Bo is the visionary behind Pareto Legal, a growth marketing agency uniquely positioned to help small to medium-sized personal injury firms double or triple their revenues with digital advertising, conversion rate optimization, and analytics. And before I bring Bo on, I just want to say this. If you're not a personal injury firm or you're not considering yourself small to medium-sized, it doesn't matter. Stay here because the principles of marketing are the same. It doesn't matter if it's personal injury, if it's criminal, if it's family law. There's going to be something here for you. Excited to jump into it. Bo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, awesome. So when we start, first thing I do is like, okay, people don't know who you are. Let's just, give us the backstory. So I gave the official bio version, but why marketing? Why legal? Uh, fill us in on what motivates you and why or why and how you became the expert.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you that it was all part of some grand plan, right? But a lot of these things kind of just happen accidentally. I studied business in college and was very fortunate. First job out of college was digital marketing and advertising focused. And that was, that was already 12, 13 years ago. And really, that's kind of been the foundation of my career, has been in digital marketing and advertising. You already kind of went through the bio, some of the business types that I've worked with. I think the key thing that's missing from there was like the motivation for why I wanted to move into the legal space. And the real reason is because I just see a need for digital marketing expertise in this space. There's a lot of agencies out there that provide digital marketing services, but they don't have that true knowledge of what it takes to grow a law firm from low 7 figures to 8 figures or 9 figures, whatever the goals are. I think my background's a little unique in that I got to be a CMO of a large firm and kind of learn the nuances of case management systems, org structures, cash flow management, things like that. So it's it's been an interesting career so far. Let's just say that. But again, it's all been rooted in the marketing and advertising side of things.
I love your background and I love how you came into this, but working for a firm that had a marketing budget, you were able to basically have your own sandbox to play in, and perfect your expertise. And then, you moved into helping, other firms on their journey. Our audience, there's a lot of people in our audience who are fairly early in their law firm growth. Maybe they haven't even hired another attorney, so they're somewhere in the 350,000 and below revenue range.
Mhm.
Then there are firms that maybe they're 1 to 4 attorneys. They're just just hitting those 7 figure marks for the first time. Um, and really at the $350,000 level, your marketing budget is very limited.
Right.
At, and I say that with a caveat because I'm firmly of the opinion and the belief that if you want to grow, say to 1 million in revenue, let's just use that as a number, and you're at 350, you have to change the way that you think, and you have to recognize that the investment comes first, the revenue comes second. So um, you have to expand your marketing budget to get to 1 million in revenue. You also have to expand your HR budget, right? You got to hire an attorney to be able to get there because as a solo, there's no way that you're going to be able to handle the caseload that's going to be required to get you to 1 million in revenue. So there's kind of two major investments you need to make in your business, which is going to require some capital and some appetite for risk that maybe not everybody is ready to do. But my question for you is, what how does somebody navigate that budget or figure out, where to spend it? Interestingly, I mean, before you answer that question, I just want to set this up. In our green room conversation, you threw out a number of basically like 10% is where businesses should be as far as what they're spending on marketing. And that's very much in line with what I teach. So we're always striving for a 35 to 50% profit margin. So
Yep.
let's just use 40 as the number. When every dollar that comes in, 60% of it is going to expenses, 40% you're keeping, right? Um, 20% is probably your your attorneys, 20% is your legal support staff. So 40% is just delivering the legal work. And then you have 20% left for overhead. And when you take rent and insurance and professional services, utilities, and you start putting all that together, you have got this 20% bucket. But if 10% is going to marketing, that only leaves 10% for everything else, it's really tight. So 10% is probably the most that you can spend on marketing and maintain a healthy profit margin in your business. So I like that number as a starting point for this conversation. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just kind of navigate like these different stages of firm growth. So
Mhm.
we've got, somebody in the early stages, to a fully booked solo of 350K, to somebody who's got their first attorney on staff and now they're going to 1.5 million. And then we're going beyond that where, every time we add an attorney, we're basically adding another $1 million revenue stream or something along 600K to 1.5 million, I think is what an attorney can bring into your firm um, from a production standpoint. Uh, what are your thoughts about how somebody should allocate that budget at each of these stages?
I guess before I give that response, I want to caveat I'm not a business coach, right? Like most of my focus is on advising on the marketing and advertising side. But what I like to see with firms of any size before we even move into the budget conversation is like, what are the goals? What are we trying to do here? And I'm still kind of surprised when I have sales calls and I ask prospective clients like, well, what's your growth forecast? What are you looking to do over the next 12 months? And that hasn't been thought through. So I think it's kind of square one, or maybe even square zero is like having a vision of where you want to be in 5 or 10 years. Square one is then kind of taking that vision and breaking it down into specific, all right, if I want to be a $10 million practice in 5 years, these are the certain KPIs, the certain numbers I need to hit by year for the next 5 years, right? And then kind of just doing that back of the napkin math, getting that all planned out. And then once you have that all laid out on a sheet of paper, you kind of need to back into, all right, how am I going to get there? What do I need to invest in order to get from point A to point B, right? So that's kind of a general starting point, I would say. Using your example then of the 10%, and let's say that you're a solo firm, right? So like minimal viable product of where to start putting your investment would be obviously getting a website set up. So you need to have a site with information about, your firm, who you are, practice area of focus, location, relevant blog articles talking about the specific case types or common problems that clients have when it comes to their case, things like that. You're also going to need to invest in intake. So I assume that at some point, a solo practitioner is going to get too busy to answer all the calls themselves, right? Like it's a good problem to have. And frankly, over the long term, you as an attorney, you can't spend 20, 30, 50% of your day speaking with prospective clients. There's just too much work to do. You're not going to have enough time to work on the business. You're going to be stuck in the business. So having some of that allocation towards hiring a part-time intake person, receptionist to free you up from the day-to-day, I think is really important. And then the next place I would be putting it would be on an advertising campaign. So typically where I'm recommending firms start is with Google advertising. And the reason for that is because no other advertising channel enables you to get in front of a very, very high intent audience in the way that Google can. And let me be more precise. If you think about it, people that are going to Google and typing in a search, they are specifying the unique problem that they have or solution that they're looking for. So if someone is going to Google and typing in personal injury law firm, Phoenix, Arizona, criminal defense attorney, New York City, if that is the practice area that you focus on, if that is the geographic market that you serve, there's going to be no better advertising format than a Google advertising campaign because it's going to get your firm in front of people that are looking for exactly what your firm offers. So that's where I would typically start. And I would marry that with some landing page testing because it's really important for the smaller firms to figure out their unique messaging, their unique positioning, and their market. And the way that they can do that is by testing different landing pages, testing different messages to that highly qualified Google audience. And once they find that sweet spot, once their cost per lead is really strong, once they've kind of hit a point of diminishing returns in terms of what they can spend within the Google Ads channel, that's an indication that they're ready to do other advertising channels like social media, or maybe traditional advertising formats like billboard, TV, radio, so on and so forth. So website, Google Ads, landing page testing, those are some of the areas that a smaller firm really should be starting with, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it's definitely a starting point to the discussion. And there's no question that you need to have a website, you need to have a good Google My Business profile, you need to like there's certain things that need to be in place. And as a matter of fact, we're here behind the scenes, we're putting together a workshop to f help facilitate these foundational pieces, with those earlier stage law firms that you're not quite ready to bring a marketing agency and you're not quite ready to even spend on Google ads, but you do want to have your assets set up properly so that when somebody's looking for you, there is a chance that they're going to find you. And when they know about you from a referral or something and they look for you specifically, they're not finding something that looks like it wasn't even thought about. And I think that that's really because when you first start, like your families and friends and your immediate network is where those first clients are coming from.
Right.
So those are referrals. People want to check you out before they talk to you. They're gonna Google you, and when they do, you don't want some YouTube video of somebody with the same name, where they're in a car chase with the police showing up as the only thing that they see, right? Like you want to make sure that your law firm is there prominently when they go to your website, they get a really good feel about the professionalism of your firm, and it even answers some questions they might be asking. So I love that you covered that in your response. Let's talk about the Google ad spend because I couldn't agree more that the most um, uh, the easiest or lowest hanging fruit to get when it comes to paid ads is somebody who's specifically looking for a solution to a problem. When you start venturing into anything else, where I call it interruption-based marketing, whether it's TV ads, billboards, or social media advertising, where you're advertising on stuff like Facebook and Twitter, All of those things are interrupting somebody's user experience and hoping that they might fall into a category of somebody that needs you but doesn't even know that they need you yet. And now
Right.
you have to educate them. You gotta dangle something in front of them to teach them why they need you. So it's harder to acquire customers that way, which is why it makes sense to start at Google. But I know from working with a number of firms in the earlier stages of their existence that that could be a really difficult place to compete because it's the lowest hanging fruit for everybody. So the biggest firms are, with the big budgets, are gobbling up all of that real estate, and you're not really, it could be really difficult for you to succeed if you're in a busy market. So, question for you. For firms who are in that situation, are there other options that they have that could still make sense for them to put marketing dollars in place and hope to get leads out the other side?
Sure. I would say, in addition to Google Ads, or let's say you're not able to run Google Ads, another advertising starting point would be retargeting. And you can do that across multiple channels. Typically, we're recommending that firms start with Meta, which is rebranded from Facebook a few years ago, but Meta encompasses both Facebook and Instagram advertising. And the way it works is you install what's called a pixel onto your website. And then when people come there, the Meta pixel will essentially drop a cookie, and that enables you to serve ads to people that have been to the site before over whatever time duration that you specify. It could be a week later, a month later, a year later. And the value of doing that is there are going to be instances where people come to your website, or maybe people are looking for an attorney, and maybe they're on the bus and they can't call right now, and they're just doing some research. Or maybe they're looking at a few other firms and they just want to, get a couple of speak to a few different firms before they make their decision. This ad format enables you to essentially follow people as they're going through that decision making process, and also give them a piece of content or a piece of information that might make them ultimately pick you over alternative firms, right? And some of the advertising creative that we typically recommend for a retargeting campaign is, client testimonials, where it's a 15, 30-second or 60-second video where a client talks about the problem they had, how the firm helped come to that solution, and what the outcome ultimately was. The other thing that you can showcase in the retargeting ads would be the firm's reviews, because that's a huge differentiator. And then also any relevant, like, FAQ type of questions. So, like, how long does the process typically take? How many attorneys do we have? Who's going to be helping me with my case? So on and so forth. That type of content really is good at nurturing prospective clients, and ultimately can help with just case volume, conversion rate overall. So I'd say, if you are hesitant to start investing a lot or even a little into Google Ads, another good starting point would be setting up a retargeting campaign, because that's just going to help you convert the web traffic that you're already getting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's interesting because it comes up every now and then, and not enough people are talking about retargeting. And I think the thought process is that you need to have a certain minimum number of website hits for that audience to be large enough for anybody to run ads to it. So everyone just assumes like, oh, I'm not at that stage yet. And when I get there, I'll do it. And I think that it makes a lot of sense to put that in place and have it there so that when it's able to run, it runs. And you're absolutely right. Like, just think about your own buying experience or your own browsing experience. Like, how often do we see something, it captures our interest, we click through to a page, and then we go back either because I don't know, the baby pooped and I got to change the diaper, or I have my next meeting and I'm jumping on that call, or I'm on the bus when I got to my stop, or I lost internet connection, or something else caught my attention. And I now browsed over to that and I forgot where I was at. Or I'm doing research. I'm looking at a bunch of law firms. I click through and I'm like, oh, I really like this one. I click back and now my search results are different. I can't find them again.
Right.
Right. And so there's so many scenarios that we can paint where like somebody is interested, but for some reason they got distracted, they went away. They'd still be interested if they remembered how to get back to you, but they don't remember the way back.
Right.
And
Yeah,
when
and
you dump the stuff in front of them, you are giving them those breadcrumbs again.
exactly. And look, my some of the things I've been saying are all advertising focused and obviously require some level of investment. You've already mentioned a few things that don't require any investment at all. Let's talk about Google Business Profile, or what used to be called Google My Business. That's free to set up. It's a free digital billboard that you can set up, and one way to increase the visibility of that is to get more reviews, and that's something else that doesn't cost anything. And getting more reviews is going to have a double whammy effect for your firm. You're going to get more visibility organically when people type in law firms near me, but then when people do research on your firm, and let's say you have 5 stars, perfect 5 stars, you got 100 reviews, they're going to pick you over the smaller mom and pop shops that only have 10, 15, 20 reviews and a lower star rating. So like that's something low effort, low cost that you can do to differentiate yourself. The other thing I would say too is getting your landing pages right. So, and that, if you have the patience to kind of figure that out yourself, you can do that for free. It's just making sure that you have um, multiple contact methods on landing pages. So there needs to be some type of click to call functionality on your landing pages. You have to realize that the majority of traffic that's going to come to your website is going to be through mobile. Like 70, 80% of your site traffic is going to come through mobile. So it has to be mobile friendly. I would also recommend getting some type of live chat installed on the site so that people, for those that don't want to call right away, maybe that person that's on the bus, maybe it's someone that's in a movie theater, wherever they are, they don't want to call you right now. You need to give them some type of other way to get in contact with your firm. So, yeah, there's just a lot of low hanging fruit, either free or low cost foundational pieces that firms need before they are really ready to start spending 10, 50, 100K a month on an advertising campaign, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. I love the ninja stuff that we're covering, like the like inside strategy tips where it's like, hey, it really isn't it's not it you don't have to have a budget for this. You just have to put in the effort and set it up. Another one, interestingly, it's fairly new on the stage. Is LSAs where list service ads where you get screened as a lawyer, it shows up as Google screened, and you only pay for leads that come in, and you don't need landing pages because they don't have a landing page. It's simply, it's basically if they click through it, they're going to your Google business profile. Now, that now piggybacks off of the conversation of your Google business profile because now who is Google showing in those Google screen ads? And I don't know if there's any data on what their algorithm is, but I can tell you from my own experience of demonstrating it over and over again to my coaching clients, 9 times out of 10 or 90 times out of 100, it's the ones with the highest star rating and the highest number of reviews that Google's presenting in the first two Google screened. You can click more and there's more people. So a savvy searcher might find you, but if you want to be the one showing up, you got it. The number of reviews and the star rating is really massive, and you really need to work on building that. Uh, some people earlier in their journey might wonder like, how do I get reviews if I don't have the clients? You don't have to have a client to get a review. Go to anybody who knows your character and have them write a character review. It's better than nothing. It's going to start to prime it. And eventually, when you get client reviews on top of it, those reviews get buried. So it's not like
Right.
somebody's going to show up and be like, oh, they don't have any clients leaving reviews. Why is that? Um, it's just to get you going. Um, Also, don't inundate the algorithm with like 1,000 reviews in a day because Google will just throw them all out. You gotta, it's very smart. It knows, so if you're doing a push, make sure to throttle that push. So, only try to get a review a day. And then once you're consistently doing that, you could try to move up to two a day, but don't try to get 5 or 6 people to leave you a review at once because that's, it's just they're not going to show up. Google's too smart for that. Um, so let's move into the paid ad conversation. I know there's two places that I want to go with you, Bo.
Sure.
One is to talk about the other ads, and I'm curious about your thoughts on the whole spectrum of paid advertising, and I'll share with you what I think is included in that, and you tell me if I'm missing anything. But the other piece of it is I know that you spend a lot of time on conversion rate optimization. You've talked multiple times about landing pages and what they should have. Um, and I want you to explain further like what the value is there and how somebody should approach that, like how they should be thinking, in what the landing page says. How do you test or how do you monitor the effectiveness of that page? And so do want to jump into that. So first things first, let's just talk about these paid ads. We talked about like just Google advertising and search. There's a whole spectrum of ways that you can pay for digital marketing beyond that. We mentioned LSAs, so we can exclude that from the discussion. But there's YouTube ads,
Yep.
there's Facebook Meta ads, there's Instagram, Facebook and Instagram. There's TikTok, there's Twitter, LinkedIn. Um, and there's probably more that I'm not even. I mean, I'm sure there's Snapchat and whatnot. Um, how does somebody determine where they want to run ads? Where let's say they're either Google's not working for them or they're doing the most that they feel they can do from Google and they're ready to take the next step. Like, how do they
Mhm.
evaluate where to go next?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the way that I typically have this conversation with clients is I think about things in terms of a funnel, right? And so, at the bottom of the funnel is going to be a tactic like Google Ads, where again, you're getting your ad in front of someone that is raising their hand and saying, I need a personal injury attorney or I need a DUI attorney. As we move up the funnel, the traffic that you generate is going to be what's called colder traffic. These are people that aren't necessarily solution aware or even problem aware. They might just be some general John Doe out in the world that doesn't even need an attorney yet. So if Google Ads is like bottom of funnel, I would then put tactics like social media, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube advertising. I'd peg that more as a middle of funnel tactic. And the reason I would do that is because those advertising avenues enable you to still hyper target people based on demographic, psychographic, or behavioral data points.
And
So demographic
geography.
and yeah, well, I would include geography in the demographic piece, right? So demographic would include geography, age, household income, marital status. There's a whole slew of additional demographic things that you can target based on. Behavioral would be like, what pages have you looked at recently? What types of content have you engaged with? And psychographic would be, what are your interests? What types of things are you buying? What are your I already mentioned interests, but like things of that nature. So essentially, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all these different advertising avenues in the middle of the funnel, they enable you to reach your ads to people that fit that ideal profile that you're looking to go after. So in that sense, it's a little more targeted than something like a TV ad or a billboard campaign where that's really more geared towards just getting as many eyeballs as possible, right? And so I already kind of just said it, but then as you move further up the funnel, I would say at the very top of the funnel would be those more traditional advertising formats like billboard, like radio, like TV, like print, where you don't have as much control over who is seeing the ad. Yes, you have some sense of who is seeing the ad, either based on what time of day that the commercial is running or what channel it's on, or what type of print ad or what publication rather your print ad is in. But you don't have that level of precision with the targeting as you would something like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So if I am
It's kind
telling
of
a
like the
client,
difference between fishing with a fishing rod versus throwing a net out and in the ocean and trying to catch everything that it can catch.
exactly, exactly. So typically what I'm recommending our clients do is work their way up the funnel. And it's all right, let's get Google right first. Let's get your landing pages right first. And then once we're kind of happy with where that's at, we've hit some point of diminishing returns. Let's add some net new channels higher up the funnel. Let's test some Facebook advertising. Let's test some YouTube advertising. And then once we've kind of hit a point of diminishing returns there, then it's like, do we want to invest in a billboard campaign? Do we want to be thinking about TV or radio or things like that? So it's prioritizing based on the funnel. It's bottom up.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for laying it out that way. That makes a lot of sense. Now, let's just talk about, and we're almost out of time, so this is going to be just a quick, two minutes response, if you don't mind. Conversion rate optimization, the landing pages that you talked about. What are some ways that somebody can think about what should be on that page, and how do I measure its effectiveness?
Sure. I already touched on a few. Clear calls to action, click to call functionality, live chat ideally included as well. You need to have clear value propositions on the landing page as well. A value prop is just a fancy way of saying clear benefits that your firm presents versus other firms, right? Um, the key thing with conversion rate optimization that I want to say is you're never done. You're never done optimizing your landing pages. You're never done optimizing for an improvement in conversion rate. And the firms that get this are the ones that keep growing year after year. So you need to recognize that conversion rate optimization is an iterative, perpetual process. And there are tools that you can use to ensure that you're going about that process the proper way. I would recommend having some type of heat mapping tool on the site. We recommend Hotjar typically, so you can see that how people are engaging on your landing page, where are they gravitating towards, where's their cursor moving towards, things like that. I would also recommend a tool so that you can run split tests on your existing landing pages. A tool that I recommend is VWO that enables you to do that. So if you want to, let's say you have a landing page currently, let's say you want to tweak some of the messaging, or you want to move a form down, or you want to move an image up. That tool makes it very easy for you to do that and run a perfect 50-50 split test, and then look back 30, 60, 90 days later and say, oh, the variation landing page is the one that did better. I'm going to use that one going forward. You press a button and that's the one that you use going forward. So I think it's important for everyone to realize that the work never stops when it comes to conversion rate optimization, and you need to employ some type of testing and learning process, because what might work for one firm could be disastrous for another firm, right? Like it's something that you need to test and kind of figure out over time.
Yeah. Love that. And I love the cute little tools, the A/B testing and the hot jar, the heat map. That's really, really interesting that people can just, go ahead and try and see, see what they're seeing happening on their own landing pages on their own site. But we're unfortunately out of time. I mean, it's just been a great conversation. I wish we can keep going. But folks who are here listening, they may want to know, like, how do I learn more about you? How do I get in touch with you? What if, I'm looking for somebody? Are you the right fit for me? Where can we send our audience to learn more about you and perhaps get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd recommend people go to our website. It's legal.pareto.ppc.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, Bo Royal. And for those that are interested in kind of learning more about our service, I would just encourage them to book a consultation call with me. It's 30 minutes. We can learn more about each other's companies and determine if it's a right fit.
Awesome, Bo. Thank you, folks. We're going to link all that up in the show notes of this episode, which you can find in your podcast player in the description right below it, or at our website, profitwithlaw.com. Also, if you go to profitwithlaw.com, you can explore how to take the next step with working with us, where we can help you with navigating your growth journey. You can book a free 15-minute information session with somebody on my team. It is not a sales call. They will not sell you anything in those 15 minutes. Essentially, it's for us to learn more about your firm, what your challenges are, what your goals are, and see if we can help give you resources to take steps in the right direction to achieving that goal that you have. We are here every week on Thursdays releasing a new episode for you. So if this is your first time listening to the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notified when the next episode is dropped. We will catch you next week when we release another brand new episode. Bo, thank you so much for being here. Folks, take care. We will see you soon.